This tutorial introduces the bone tool and also introduces the animation principle of pose to pose animation. All right, so I'm going to go to Adobe Animate and I'm going to be playing around with what's called the bone tool. And so the bone tool kind of adds a skeleton to your work, and it's very instrumental in what's called pose to pose animation. So the bone tool is extremely tricky to use. The best way to learn how to use it is to create something that's a little bit less realistic, a little bit more abstract, and to use the native shape tools within the program to do it as opposed to importing a drawing from outside. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just create a monster because I think it's easier to not mess up. So I'm going to start with the shape tool and I'm going to pick a color. So I've got this nice fuchsia color and I'll pick this box and I'm going to create a sort of a silly shape with it. So first I'm going to use my select tool. And then I'm going to right click transform envelope. And I'm going to start making kind of a top jaw for my animal. Okay, so I'm making a monster, so it doesn't have to look a certain way. There's no real way to mess up on it. You just sort of pull these nodes out until you get a shape that looks somewhat acceptable. So I'm just playing around. Okay, and really there's no wrong way to do it because it's a monster, so there's no right way to do it, wrong way to do it. Okay, so that's going to be my top jaw. I'm going to go to white and use my oval tool, and I'll make an eye. And then I'll go to black, and I'll make the pupil of the eye so that my monster has kind of a top jaw. I can select the whole thing and do a little bit more distorting. But keep in mind that if I do that, the eye can also get messed up. So you don't want to do that too much. The eye will get distorted along with the rest of it. So there's my top jaw. And now I'm going to turn this into a graphics, actually a movie clip symbol. So I'm going to convert to symbol and I'll call it monster head. Okay, and now there's a movie clip symbol in here called monster head. And now I'm going to add another symbol, and that's going to be the let me do Command Z. I didn't mean for this to be black. If you want to duplicate a color, instead of looking in the swatches, just click on the foreground color and click on the color you already used if you're trying to duplicate it. So I'm going to go back to the rectangle tool. I'm going to now select this, and I'm going to now do transform envelope, and I will create a lower jaw for my monster. So again, no wrong answers. You're just playing around. Nobody knows what monsters really look like, so it doesn't take that much to make a convincing lower jaw. Okay, and you can see it's got kind of almost a weird little dinosaur look. So I'm going to take this shape, I'm going to select it, and I'm going to right click, and I'm also going to convert it to a symbol, and I'll call it lower jaw. Okay, we're doing movie symbols now. And if you use the free transform tool, you can change where it rotates and you can attach it to your guy here. Okay, and so now that I have this, I realize I'm not going to have enough room for the rest of the body. So I can just select both of them, free transform, hold the shift key and keep it from getting distorted, and I can make it smaller. So I'm going to just bring it over here, and now I can make the rest of the body. Okay, so I'm going to just go to the oval tool. I'm going to create an oval for the body, and I will tilt it a little, and I will distort it a little. I'm basically repeating the exact same process in which I made the head. So I'm just envelope transforming, and then I'm going to convert it into a graphic symbol, a movie clip symbol, and now I'm adding vertebrae, and I'm doing the same. Each one gets converted into a movie clip symbol. However, if you look in the library, you'll see that the movie clip symbol of the vertebrae is already there, so I don't have to keep recreating them. I just go ahead and pull them out of the library. For the hand, I'm using the exact same process, so I've sped it up so that you can see what the process is, and I'm distorting the arms. Once I've created the claw, I can just create it into a movie symbol and then drag the second claw right out of the library. Move to my oval tool, and I'll create the back legs over here, and then I'm going to move them to the correct position. This process is just a repeat of everything I have already done so far, where I continually make the shapes and convert them to movie symbols. So I'm going to just rush through this part so it's not too repetitive. And I'm going to take my neck vertebrae and use them to make a tail. And the nice thing is that you can actually change the size a little bit. Okay, so there's my weird little monster. And now I'm going to use the bone tool. So if you don't see the bone tool in your toolbar, and you may not, if you click on these three dots and you see additional tools here that you want to use, you just click the tool and drag it into your toolbar, and it will be there permanently. So I've already done that with my bone tool. So I'm going to start with the body, and I'm going to connect it to the haunch, and then I will connect the haunch to the foot. I'm also going to connect it to the various vertebrae with one click in each vertebrae. And then, as you can see, this is sort of a hub. Everything starts here, which is why you start the connection at the body. So I'm now going to go ahead to the arms, and now I will go ahead to the neck. And I'm going to now connect the neck to both the upper and lower jaw. So now I have all these things. If you go to properties and you scroll down, one of the things that's good to click is constraint, and you don't want everything to spin around. So if you constrain the movements, that's better. So now I'm going to go to 2 seconds, and I'm going to insert a pose. Okay, so right now, if I check all this out, I've got all these bones in here, and now I'm going to go to 2 seconds and insert a pose. So you see how everything is it's static, and now I'm going to start moving things. So the first thing I want to move is my jaw. So I'm going to move that, and I'll move the neck, and maybe the arms. Okay, if this happens where you click on something and it changes like that, you're now inside the movie symbol and not on the scene. You want to be in scene 1. You don't want to be in the movie symbol. So I'm going to just move the arms a little. I'm now going to move the leg a little. I'll move the tail a little. And now I've created this pose. So it's going to go from this to that. So what happened was at the beginning, I forgot to connect the tongue. So I'm going to go back here to the bone tool. I'm going to go to the selection tool. I'll select everything so I can see what the connections are. I'm now going to go to the bone tool, and I'm going to go from the bone tool, from the neck, and connect the tongue as well. So now here's my motion. So you can see now the tongue doesn't make any sense. So I'm going to just move that to the correct spot. Okay. And now let's see how this monster looks. Not bad. So now I'm going to go to 4 seconds, and I will insert another pose. And at this point, I can just move things around a little. Close his mouth. Lift up his arm. Lift up his other arm. And you can see everything's... What you did by using the bone tool is you essentially created a skeleton. And this is the ultimate in pose-to-pose animation, because you are not going frame by frame. You are creating 2 poses and allowing the computer program to fill in the missing parts for you. So let's see how it looks now. Let me play it. Let me just compress this a little. I'm going to make this 25% because I want to be able to see the whole stage. And now I'm going to play my animation. And you can see that the monster appears to be moving, and we're having a lot of fun with it. So now I'm going to go to 4 seconds, and I will insert another pose. And now I can move my animal again. Now the nice thing is that you can actually, if you want to refine your movements, you can actually go in between the poses and refine them even more. So if you wanted there to be a little jump in here, where he opens and closes his mouth, that's absolutely fine. So I can go to any point in my animation and create in between poses to further refine whatever it is I'm trying to create. So if I were you, this is how I would start using the bone tool. I would not recommend trying to do something super complex like bring in a puppet of a human figure and try and string together the bones and do a walk cycle until you've played with it and experimented with it first. It's not that it's that difficult to do, it's that it's very time consuming to get it to look realistic, and you're better off just having fun with the bone tool and getting used to the process of pose to pose animation prior to trying to do something that's supposed to look a set certain way. So let me just now go File, Export, Export Video, and it should be a 6-second animation. It will end up in my downloads. It's called Untitled 4, so what I will call it is, I'm going to have to save it as something so it's not just called Untitled. So I'm going to call it Dragon Animation. Okay. Bone tool, pose to pose. Okay, I'm going to hit save. And now I will do export video. It will go through the media encoder, and here is my finished animation. The background is black because I didn't create a background layer, and the default is just black.